You know, people always say, how are sports and esports failing? Why are people not interested in watching esports anymore? But I ask you guys, when was the last time we actually had real sports and real esports? When was the last time League of Legends or Dota 2 or Smite organized real online tournaments where anybody could join and prove themselves? Never! They literally handpick all their players and they call it sports, you know. What a joke, man. Like, and this is also like why Smite players are disappointed in Hi-Res. Is because we had one of the best games ever created, but you guys couldn't even organize real sports for us, you know? It's like, what are you even doing? How can you lead competitive genre of games of industry and you don't even know how to organize real sports? And organizations like UFC are the same thing, right? Real sports can only exist when you design environment for them, when you organize real rankings and real online tournaments where anybody can join and prove themselves. That's why whole T1 esports and everything they do over there, it's hard to take seriously, you know. How can you even call it sports when you handpick all your players, when nobody plays for the spot, so nobody has a chance to prove themselves? There are many guys like Faker out there. They just never got a chance to prove themselves. So do we really have sports, you know? And that's why pretty much over the years the interest and watchers have fallen off. So now they're using bots to keep up the illusion they're popular, right? And that's a big problem, you know. If you read into Faker's story, he was actually scouted by the organizations where he was one of the top on the leaderboards. They saw the talent and they recruit him, and that's okay, you know. That's okay, but at the end of the day you have to have real organizations, real tournaments, and real rankings. And they call League of Legends and Dota 2 and Deadlock a MOBA games, but these games are not even MOBA. They're just Dota, and Dota was one of millions of maps made for MOBA genre. And Dota itself has many design flaws. In fact, Dota itself was never even designed to be a competitive game mode. It was just fun map with snowballing recipes, secret recipes and OP characters. The whole point of Dota was unbalanced, you know, to have a level advantage and feel good about it. But when you really come down to it, I feel like real competitive players sort of like to play on even playing field where all that matters is how you play and how you win. And I think that's why only catering to Dota was probably one of the biggest mistakes a lot of these MOBA studios did over the years, because they tried to copy League, they tried to copy Dota 2, which in itself they were never really innovative. They never really understood their own genre. They just monopolized the market, you know. Maybe I'm just jealous, maybe I just envy, because you see these guys and they're treated like kings, but a lot of us were also so passionate and we barely get any views anymore because we don't work for these massive talent view boating agencies that control the market, because we have no ranked infrastructure to support us, to scout us. You know, I love the game, I love Smite more than anybody else, but I never really had a chance to prove it because we usually only had tournaments for Conquest, Dota and nothing else. No ranked leaderboards for anybody else, and they pretty much handpick all their teams. So why would anybody compete? Why would anybody invest themselves into something they know they will never get results out of it? They have no future, you know. the private chef for Korea #1 gaming team, right? And then you realize Faker is actually a co-owner of T1, which makes a total joke out of the whole esports organizations. If these guys would have any backbone, they would probably fine Faker years ago. And not only for because he's a co-owner, that's like playing a casino that you own, but also the fact that some player had to pay like 15,000 euros because he trolled Faker once in game. You know, that's why Faker should be fined. And it goes against the sport spirits. But at the end of the day, we players, we community can't really do much if the community, if the people who manage us don't organize real rankings and real tournaments. And we wouldn't even need to talk about this, because if they would just organize real rankings and real tournaments, it could be easy. But no, Smite's biggest mistake was only Dota is competitive mentality. So they didn't even organize basic rank infrastructure for other popular gamers. So they eventually all died, and so did Smite. Because the whole point of MOBA is to have many different gamers that attract player base. And they didn't even do that right. They didn't organize real sports, they didn't organize ranked infrastructure. And they had one of the best games ever created. And that's how you went from making $100 million a year to barely scraping by. And if you do things right, if you organize real online tournaments, real rankings, you also get a natural EU versus North America competitive spirit. And things move on their own, you know. There was the guy, Leon. There was a guy in Smite community, Leon, who made a really good video about Smite SPL, Smite Pro League. It's a really good video to watch, you know, to understand a little bit more in depth. And then you have all this pointless drama when you handpick all players and people egos got in the way. They never listen to anybody. They live in a bubble because they have no real competition, and any criticism they get, they just ban you from their channels, you know. And a lot of these guys also work for view voting agencies, so they take no responsibility themselves for use of promotional accounts and bots to manipulate algorithm. And that's a YouTube problem, you know, not sports problem. So what do you guys think? And I think that's why Smite players are angry at Harris and as a community. Not even mention how divided our community always was. People say, you know, it really comes down to not understanding their own genre. And this is what was the downfall of Smite. It was not even the fake sports and inability to organize real sports, but you know, how divided our community always was. Because only Dota is competitive, so they only focus on Dota, ignored everybody else, which was like 70% of their player base. They didn't organize even basic ranked infrastructure, leaderboard for other game modes in Smite, like Arena or Joust, even though they were really fun and competitive. Every game mode can be, you know. The question is, do we have support for it? Ranked infrastructure, you know.
I'm gonna need to write the notes, right? No, and I'm gonna give you guys the truth. I'm gonna give you guys not only the SPL, but also the business side of it, because the business side of it is where the real brain dead shit happens. But you know, we'll keep it simple. All right. SPL starts the right way. There's a lot of love for the game. And there's a lot of people that love playing this game competitively. So they started a tournament where the top teams earn their spot. They earned their first, you know, I don't know, it was 8 spots. Before it used to be European, North American. And then they had Latin, China. They used to Asia. I'm not sure if it was all of Asia, but they had their own sections. And then for Worlds, everyone would get together. Same thing as Dota, which is genius. Obviously, Hi-Rez sold off their rights to Latin America and Asia. Obviously, very wrong, but whatever, they did. Which made the game smaller. At that point, it was only North America and Europe. right? And that was the thing for season 2, 3, 4, you know, for a while. After like season 4 or 5, at season 5, they started to pick the teams. So this is what their thought process was, right? If we're gonna have sponsors in the organization, if we're gonna have sponsors, we can't be changing teams all the time because the sponsors change, and then we can't be. It'll just mess up the money side of things. My argument the whole time this was happening, as a player, as a streamer, as someone for the game, I said, don't do that. Stop making this like League of Legends. You don't have the player base nor the money to make this into like a league where everyone moves to Atlanta. That makes no sense. You need to make tournaments with a lot of funding and let the best teams play for it through Europe and NA, where they come together. Top teams play against each other for LAN for a big prize. That is true competition. But they changed it, so teams would have to come to Atlanta and be handpicked. They're handpicked, not played for, handpicked by Hi-Rez according to their, how they played before in the SPL. So for example, Adapting was a back-to-back SPL Worlds winner, so he's obviously gonna get picked up, and then whatever team is around him is gonna get picked up. That's fair, right? So that makes sense, but it doesn't, right? Because it's eventually going to kill the league. It's going to choke the league, correct? Because now what's going to happen is now you're picking only these same players over and over and over and over again, because how are you going to pick anyone else? Because you've never seen them before. So you only have these pool of players to pick from. Correct? So how does anyone that wants to come up and play competitive have a chance? They have zero opportunity, which takes away from the competition, which takes away from aspiring to be a professional Smite player. It's not me. It's just in general. When you play Dota and you want to play Dota, you have a chance.
So yeah, guys, feel free to watch it the rest on your own time, but I just made this video to have some discussion about this, and let me know what you guys think. Can we bring Smite Pro League back if we do things right? Like make basic rank leaderboard for Joust Arena and Conquest, 3 most popular game modes, to organize real online tournaments where anybody can join and prove themselves, And it's really hard even for new teams to form teams and practice, and man. So let me know what you guys think, and I hope I see you in the next one. Peace.
Greetings. Helping others is a delight. It's an honor to help.
What's the matter? Hope I helped.
You need my help? Can we cut some kind of deal? Haven't I seen you around?